The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Family-owned Palermo Pizza underwrites this episode of Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters Paranormal Podcast, located at 901 Gazan Parkway, Southwest Wyoming, and available at 616-531-8300.
Brought to you by WKTV. I'm Wayne Thomas. Welcome to the 40th episode of Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters Podcast. As always, we ask that you please keep an open mind about things that you might not easily believe as we explore the mysterious. This show is all about Bigfoot. As we welcome back our Bigfoot guy from West Branch, Michigan, Phil Shaw. First, let's check in with my co-host so they can say hi to Phil and tell us a little bit about themselves. Let's start with ladies first.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Kim Colleen. This is my, 38th episode or 37th, something like that. Almost started from the beginning. But as a co-host of the Grand Rapids Paranormal Podcast, and formerly founded a Tulip City Ghostbuster group that we did charity work. And so very proud to be here today and very excited to see our buddy Phil Shaw. And I don't know if you can see him. Can you see my Yeti in the back, Phil?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I got him hiding back there. He's like creeping up on us.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah.
They are
nice
sneaky.
To see you.
Nice seeing you.
And I'm paranormal investigator Brandon Jose. Do we lose Wayne?
I don't know.
Well, Phil, we got a lot
There
to
we
talk
go.
about. We want to hear about you. Yeah, we want to hear about your adventure, your sighting that kind of changed your life. We want to hear about the recent West Branch sightings. We want to hear about Bigfoot Discovery Days. So, and then we're going to want to get into some specifics, maybe some questions that my co-hosts have. So, tell us about yourself. Like, how many groups do you belong to? Exactly what teams do you belong to over there in West Branch now?
Actually, I just belong to the one here. This is a West Branch Bigfoot committee. But when I do a report, I've got 133 reports now. I do share them with about 14 different Facebook pages, one YouTube and 14. They all got, they have some overlap, I'm sure, but we only have one group here. Yeah.
Remind me again, where is West Branch?
Okay, yeah, West Branch is about 50 miles north of Saginaw Bay City, right up I-75.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. I know where Bay City is. Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm. We're in a very squatchy area, I have discovered.
Okay.
We got lots of lakes. The other day I was looking at Ogama County, which is the county West Branch, and it's got 80 lakes.
Oh my gosh.
Something in that neighborhood, 80 lakes.
So the Bigfoot obviously needs a certain kind of environment.
Well, I consider them to be a swamp creature.
Okay.
The BM found, I've heard statements that 80% of it is aquatic materials, roots and leaves and stuff from.
Because you sometimes think of the Bigfoot being in an isolated, very foresty area, maybe way up in the mountains where there might not be a very swampy environment, but you're saying not so much maybe in these.
I think you take swamps that Michigan has, you got the cover, you got the food, you got water, they're hidden very well. And the fact is most hunters, people who wander do not go in the swamps.
No.
Very, very difficult, well, get sunk in the mud, and
Right.
it's very difficult to go through a thick, swampy area.
We're getting into some of the specifics, but yeah, you guys are right. Michigan, dense forests, swamps, vast farmlands, plenty of fresh water. We're surrounded by it. You're never more than 6 miles from a river or stream. We're surrounded by the four of the Great Lakes. We have 14 billion trees in Michigan. I don't know who counted them, but 20 million acres of forest in Michigan. 19 million acres are considered timberland. So that's 53%. Was once 95% forest. So we're prime real estate for Bigfoot and Dogman. Do you guys also investigate or take reports for Dogman sightings?
I have
Bill?
had very few Dogman reports. Maybe part of it, well, really haven't had many, but the few that I've had, I guess I haven't really recorded them. My interest has primarily been Bigfoot.
Okay.
But there are some sightings of what appears to be a dog.
Well, we want to hear your
on 2
Bigfoot
legs.
sighting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that was in 2006. My wife and I.
We want to hear about the. Okay.
In 2006, we were going to the Maritime provinces, New Brunswick. We were going through New Brunswick. We were on a 4-lane highway, and there was a opening in the trees, and they got a lot of thick forest out there because they get a lot of rain. And there was somebody walking between 2 sections of trees, and my wife saw it better than I did, but we did not see any evidence of plaid shirts, hats, blue jeans. It was all one color. My wife said it had a funny gait, which she's never been able to explain, but they do have a different walk than humans. Anyhow, we agreed at the time that we most likely saw a Bigfoot. It was in the early afternoon, about 4 or 5 o'clock. But that sort of got me started. And then that fall, there was an article in Detroit Free Press about an expedition up near Marquette by the BFRO. And I recruited 2 of my sons and a brother, and we went up and camped and went to the expedition. And I didn't know it at the time, but my sons made up what I call a mockumentary of looking for Bigfoot. It's called the Shaw Bigfoot Project. And it's funny, they did a good job with it. But for a number of years, as I got in, have you seen it, Wayne? But anyhow.
Yeah, I saw it. Brandon, did you see it?
I didn't see it, no.
No, I haven't seen it either.
Yeah.
Oh.
And to this day, they still don't believe it. They still don't believe in Bigfoot, but
oh, it's funny.
That's
they incorporated some of the beef jerky.
Yeah, the Jack Link and like that.
Oh, your sons are non-believers?
Yeah, they still are. No, most of my family and most of my friends just don't think it can happen. They think I'm a little out in left field, Oh well. I tell my good wife.
That's surprising to me.
I tell my good wife, everybody has a right to be wrong, but it ain't me.
And Michigan is right up there for Bigfoot.
Actually,
I think I had us 4th on the list.
Yeah, 2 years ago, my wife and I flew to California, rented a car, and went up through the mountains there in Oregon and into Washington State. So we got to see the mountains there, but then in the fall, we actually went to North Carolina and visited the mountains there. And I've come to the conclusion that Michigan really has the best habitat in the world, both for a habitat for the Bigfoot, but also for people to see them. Because, the mountains are beautiful, but man, they're hard to get up, and then you can fall off when you get there, you know. So it's
Right.
there is a lot
Exactly.
of beautiful place to hide, but how do you observe them when it's so difficult to, you know, get into the mountains? Where here, you know, just being driving on the 2 tracks and whatnot, or in the swamp, they're here.
Well, you've been putting out reports about the Bigfoot sightings. I believe it's in the West Branch area. Can
Yeah,
you give us an update on that?
Yeah, I've only collected stories in the 6 counties around West Branch, because the fact is we have a very big state, and you know, it's expensive to drive across the state, you know, for, you know, interviews and whatnot. I'm up to 133 incidents now. Um, that was actually this December, and I'm gradually working through the reports, you know, and sharing those. It didn't even occur to me to do that until a year or so ago. And I said, I should somehow share these reports, because, you know, I got a lot of material, a lot of different, you know, observations. And it is amazing how often the reports are similar, though. I have run into what I feel very few hoaxers, people making stories up. I think people that are brave enough to come forward and talk about it are not usually somebody making something up.
Right.
So, and they'll often give details that most people wouldn't know, you know. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question.
yes.
Do you feel like during the coronavirus last year, more people actually got interested in Bigfoot research or looking for Bigfoot because we had all this time on our hands? Were people going out? Did you see an influx of reports last year
Well,
versus prior years?
maybe that explains it. You know, we didn't have the personal contact because we've typically had 2 conferences. One, we try to get a really good speakers in the spring, and then one in the fall, which is more of a local speakers. But we couldn't do that last year.
Right.
But I got some really good reports. People contacted me, and maybe that's because they had time on their hands.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Are
yeah.
you seeing an increase in reports because more people are out into the wilderness?
Yeah,
Because
I
they
can't. I can't really gauge it, I think, but
Okay.
I do say that I was real excited from the reports we did have, because we've scheduled every 2 weeks we're going to do an expedition someplace around our area. So you know, go out and sit in the woods for a night or two and look at the stars and
Yeah.
hope we call in a Bigfoot, which is hard to do, but it's fun.
Can you share like a really good story of one of the incidences that was reported to you? I mean, something that was just like, oh my God, this blew my hair back. I can't believe I'm reading this.
One of the best actually is a fellow by the name of Tim. He actually has got cottages in McKinley.
Which is that in Michigan?
That's up to the east of Mayo.
Okay.
About 10 miles, right along the Osabo River.
Oh yeah, I fished there. Yeah.
Yeah. And Tim contacted me, and we went out a couple of times, but he had found prints, and he's seen them and he's heard them there in that area. But actually the second time we went out, well, there was a couple of things that happened there. First of all, he showed us a bunch of telephone poles, wooden telephone poles. There's probably 10 of them, where somebody, and I'm assuming it was Bigfoot, scratched horizontally in several of the poles. They scratched off almost an inch of wood.
So like
horizontal scratches, and up about 7 feet. Well, if the average Bigfoot is 8-9 feet tall, that would be the right height. And
yeah, so you figure here from here.
Yeah,
this is 7 foot. This is 8 foot.
Yep. And every pole we found long black, usually black hair. So
Did somebody
that-
collect the hair for DNA testing?
we do, but it's easier said than done. We don't have a lot of money, and
Yeah, I guess.
you know,
Yeah.
really, there's a lot of money in the area to get stuff like that done.
Yeah.
I did attempt to look at it with a microscope, and that's easier said than done too. I
Yeah.
think you got to have an electron microscope to look into the hair to see it. They say it's much like blonde hair or red hair of humans.
Okay.
But that really blew me away. I put it on Facebook, got very little response that other people had seen that kind of thing.
Um,
But also another time, midsummer, there was a pine tree in this plantation, actually near a campground, that had been pulled down all the way to the ground, and the top of it had what you would think would be 100 or 200 pounds of moss put on top of it, holding it down. Well, this is right part of a campground up there. And I don't know if the DNR or the campers cut the tree down and they left the moss. That moss, probably the whole thing didn't weigh more than 10 pounds. But here's a tree that's 6.5 inches in diameter at the base. What kind of being could go to the top of this perfectly straight pine tree and pull it to the ground and deform it so it would stay there without any weight, really? That moss didn't, it looked bulky, but there was no weight to that moss at all.
Phil, you know that picture with the telephone post with the scratches on it?
Yeah, that's one I put on. Yep.
I shared that to my Bigfoot page.
Yeah.
I was impressed with that because it could not possibly be any sort of a buck rub because it was way too high.
Oh, 7 feet. Almost everyone was 7 feet up in the air. Could not
Right.
be. Bear would usually do a horizontal. I think we did
Right.
fine.
Like
And
this.
Yep. And I did look for a telephone, how they walk up a tree,
Yeah.
telephone repairman, and you could see the digs into the wood, but they had
Well,
nothing. They're completely different than the horizontal scratches.
Yeah.
I think they got very strong hands, and they were just, for whatever reason, really worked on all those poles.
Yeah, I was impressed.
It's
Another
amazing.
thing, these trees had these huge boulders way up in the tree. Like something put these boulders up in the tree. And I don't know what the explanation would that be. It would have taken 2 or 3 guys to get some of these boulders up. Did you see that picture?
I saw the pictures. Val Zavala, I think you must be on his site there, Michigan Bigfoot Reports. He posted some of those. I don't know where those pictures came from, but yeah, you take a big boulder that's so big, that's a lot of weight to put up 8-10 foot in the tree.
Right. Yeah, they were way up there.
Yeah.
I was impressed with that too. There's really
Sure.
no explanation as to what would have happened there. We could talk about your convention that's coming up or your Bigfoot Discovery Days a little bit, and then we can, at the end, we'll go over the dates again. But who
Okay.
you got coming to this thing, and it's May 15th?
May 15th. Yes, we have 3 speakers. The one I already mentioned is Ron Moorhead. He
Right.
was instrumental in recording the Sierra sounds, which can be Googled. I've got 2 CDs of his, and they recorded the Bigfoot samurai chatter and just a variety of sounds.
Now he's from Washington. He's actually authored a couple books,
Yeah,
Voices in the Wilderness and The Quantum Bigfoot. And
Yes.
like I say, that thing with the EVPs or whatever, the sound recordings of I didn't hear that.
oh yeah, that would be in the, if you Google Sierra sounds, that's what that would be.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually the interesting part is I heard them talk like that in our local river, Rifle River, one time years ago.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
midnight.
cool.
Yeah, I was with another fellow, and I think he went down the river a ways and sat in the dark, very dark, and a couple of people come up along the river, no flashlight, and they were talking in a foreign language in the river. And I didn't put a light on them. I was, I think at the time I may not even been aware that they talk like that, but it was this what they call samurai chatter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we used a couple of those in the poem for the intro. And I wanted to ask you if you thought that was legit. And it sounds like you do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think they have a language. Actually, the second speaker that I think is very important, Janice Carter. She's from Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
Her grandfather had habituated some Bigfoot near the Smoky Mountains in the 1940s and 50s. And by that, he actually fed them and communicated with them. And his family was quite scared of him. But Janice actually, as a kid, got up in the trees, and I read their book, 50 Years of Bigfoot. And she actually got pictures of them remember the old box cameras? It had no zoom.
Right.
But, so the picture was, you could see them running across the field. But she recorded, well, she got married, moved away, divorced, moved back, and then she knew this was going on with her grandpa. And she must have contacted Mary Green, who was known as the Tennessee Bigfoot Lady. And then she come and recorded her stories, and together they wrote the 50 Years of Bigfoot. So Janice is coming. So I think that's incredible to have her coming, because in reading the book, much of the book is very, very close to what I see reports of all the time. Very, very similar kind of activities. Then the third speaker is Sheetan Noir from Michigan. She's a paranormal investigator. I think you may have interviewed her before.
A few times.
A few times. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Cryptozoologist, author of
Right.
Yeah.
4 books.
Sure.
Yeah. She's really interesting. She's got a lot of stories and Bigfoot stories.
Yeah.
Sure.
She's an author as well.
Right. Dogman stories,
Yep.
lake monster stories.
Yeah.
I haven't really got into the paranormal, but I won't discount it, because 3 of us were up near Mile, 3 or 4 years ago, when we had a very definite orb. It was bigger than a basketball over this lady's lake, a swampy lake. And it turned off just like turning off a light bulb. And this is a very, very Bigfooty area, squatchy area. So I don't discount it. It's just that I haven't had much experience with paranormal.
Yeah. Chetan does some of that, but she also like Mothman.
Yeah.
She's pretty far out. You've
Sure.
got a couple other people too. Someone that you mentioned, Tim and Steve.
Yeah, they're the ones there that I was
from-
talking about, Tim and Steve. That's actually, Tim is the one that found a lot of that. Steve is his brother. I took a picture of, that was a tree that they had been bent down and then eventually cut off. Yeah.
And then
But
Scott from Whitmore.
Yeah, he's a young fella that contacted me and from Whittemore, and he said he had found a structure. I think his parents had some contact with Bigfoot, so they thought these animals or whatever they are was out there. So I went over and took a hike with him, and this structure he's pointing at, I mean, there's no evidence that could be a deer blind, a hunter blind, or a kid's teepee. The logs themselves are too big for a kid to even put together. And this is way back in a cut over area. So I was sort of blown away. That was a very substantial structure. He got in it. He's not a very big person, but he would barely fit in. There was no place to sit in there. Somebody with a lot of ambition put those logs up there, and of course, people always ask me why they do that. And I said, well, I don't know. If I talk to one out, I'll ask them, why they make these structures. So,
I don't know if I'm getting that close.
What's that?
I don't know if I'm going to get that close to a Bigfoot.
Well, actually, these structures, they leave them. That's actually my program that I'm going to do in May is one. Actually, I did it in Kentucky last October. I went down for an expedition. But my most positive experience has been the structures I found in this area around West Branch. where I don't think they were deer hunter blinds. They were not kids' teepees. You know, there's no beer cans or anything like that. Nobody sat in it. There's no way to sit in it.
No campfires.
No campfire, nothing. It's just a bunch of shrubs or, you know, branches, trees put in the location. In fact, I was going to go up Saturday. This lady up by Gaylord, I was up there and looking for antler drops, you know, elk drops 2 years ago, I think it was. And she and her husband went with us and had fun together. But I was going to go up. She found a really big structure. I wanted to go up and see it. Well, she just wrote a couple of days ago. She's got COVID.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't hope it's not bad, but you know,
Yeah.
I think she does special education, and you know, she's got to be isolating for at least a couple weeks.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
But I was really looking forward to seeing the structure. It was just humongous. The one she found, that one actually had an interior cavity to it, so it would be interesting to see if there's any kind of human debris, you know.
Yeah.
that
Send
people-
send us pictures.
Yeah.
You end up-
Well, I
Send us
don't
a
know.
picture.
I don't know if I'm going to go. There's another fellow involved, whether he knows how to get to it. I may have to wait a month or two.
Yeah. Well, when you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw your name was on that list, so I was interested if you're going to do a presentation.
Yeah, I found about a dozen structures around the area, so I'm going to be showing those.
That's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Bigfooters. And then Linda Pomeranke is on the list
Sure.
also.
Yeah, she's going to be our town hall, MC to interview people. Hopefully, Tim and Scott will both do a little bit of that, talk about their experience, because they're not on the agenda directly.
And then Linda's going to be on our show in about a month.
Oh, is she? Yeah.
So we can talk Bigfoot again. You
Yeah.
know, Bigfoot goes over well.
Oh, does it?
Mhm.
They've been patient because we do so much other things. We've been doing tarot card readers and
Mhm.
psychics,
Mhm.
and a lot of the Bigfoot people, you know, they're only into Bigfoot. But,
Yeah.
but I have 10 or 12 teams that have been following us regular, but they're anxious to
Mhm.
talk Bigfoot. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So I think this is going to be well received.
Mhm.
I guess we can get into some of the specifics now a little bit more. You know, you talked about language, you talked about the samurai chatter.
Right.
They had the whoop
Mhm.
howl. That a howl that I did was Bobo, and then the second one was actually a female who won the contest.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, hers went on a little longer and a little higher, but I thought she did a great job. Both of them. I mean, it was a little hard to distinguish between which the first one was Bobo and the second one was the female who won the contest.
Mhm.
But you think that's also legit? That second one, the howl.
I don't remember it exactly. I've been to Kentucky 3 times on expeditions, and about 3 years ago, I recorded 7 minutes of what I think was a very valid Bigfoot howl type of thing.
Okay.
I called it a mad ape. I think we built a campfire in the valley, and I think the Bigfoot, we were in his way, and he started howling, and it was funny. I was watching the fire. I guess my true colors came out there because there was a group of people said, well, let's go down there and look at this guy. And I said, that's okay. I'll stay here and watch the fire, keep the fire going. I mean, he sounded like an 800-pound ape to me. So I didn't really want to, and I didn't have any gun or anything, but you know, I got a good recording. It's been difficult to share. So it seems like it's too big to put on the media. Or at least with my knowledge base of computers. So.
Yeah, I repeat that story. I'm with you. I've been saying the same thing. The Bigfoot tracks are going one direction. I'm going to be going.
You're going to go the other direction. That's right. Yeah.
Well, you came all that way. You might as well just go look for them, right?
Well, if you got enough around, you know they're going to be gone anyhow. They're not going to stick around.
But other language, whistle, knocks. Do you guys do the knocks when you're out in the woods?
We do some. I don't have a lot of confidence in the stuff. To me, it looks like it's almost happenstance. I was reading a book by a fellow out in Oregon. I thought he made a lot of sense, just going out and sitting and maybe playing some Indian type music, very soothing music, sleep under the stars. I haven't done it much. I tried a little bit last year, but I wonder if that would have just as good effect as banging on the trees. And, that could be almost a adverse behavior for them, But if
Right.
they play music, he claims that they'll come up and watch. They love music. They'll come up and watch you.
Yeah, there's something kind of contradicts itself, because I've heard that they're shy,
Yeah.
but yet they're inquisitive enough to look in your windows.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they love to watch kids. I think kids playing and whatnot is, something they do. I think they're actually a lonely creature.
Okay.
And if they're almost human, like I think they are, young ones, pretty hard for them to mix with people. We don't like big, shaggy, smelly beasts, So,
Right.
so
Yeah.
Hey, Phil,
yeah.
is there any truth that if you cook bacon in the morning, it'll attract a Bigfoot?
I don't know. We've cooked some bacon.
Have you heard that one?
I haven't. People do that, It makes sense, sort of,
Yeah, that's supposedly a way to attract a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It's got to be hard to resist the smell of bacon.
I know.
Right.
it would attract me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Phil,
There you
know
go.
these guys,
What's that?
these guys from my t-shirt,
Yeah.
the Upper Peninsula Bigfoot Sasquatch Research Organization. They
Yes.
need a longer name.
Yeah.
But Rich Meyer and
Rich.
Brandon trained up there with Rich.
Oh.
Yeah, with their crew, like they had some like ghost hunting crews up there, and we were going and they trained us how to like investigate for Bigfoot and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
And then Jim Sherman.
yep,
Yeah.
he's a character.
You know Jim also?
Yes. Yeah, he got some real good recordings east of Mount Pleasant a few years ago.
So they're going to be on the show too.
Are they? Yeah.
Yep, later
That's
on.
good.
So
That's good. Yeah, Jim has been at our programs before here.
yeah, so that's going to be nice, like I say, because that's what people are wanting. They're wanting these Bigfoot shows. So we're starting out with you, though. You're our Bigfoot guy. You're our go-to guy.
Oh. Well, I think there's a group by Ann Arbor putting on a big one this year, and UP.
Yeah.
There's
All
some
right,
getting
I
me-
got a list for the upcoming some other conferences and stuff that's going on for Bigfoot that we talk about later.
Yeah.
But so what do you think? Like, we covered language pretty good. I want to get on diet, because you did a thing that you put on Facebook about the diet.
Mhm.
Apparently somebody's been checking the BM.
Oh,
Actually, that's a reproduction. David Becerra is the owner of the Bigfoot Museum north of Atlanta, Georgia. And turns out he's from St. Helen, and I think his folks went from St. Helen to Florida, but that's a reproduction of a BM found out in Oregon. I think Dr. Matthew Johnson is the one that I was talking about, going and not doing a lot. They'll find you type of thing if you play music. But yeah, that's a reproduction. And I posted that because so often some of the experts will get into this discussion. What would they eat?
Right.
How could they survive? But if you read the books, and I've only read 100 books so far, probably got 500 to go, 100 about Bigfoot. Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of books out there. But if you read those books, these Bigfoot eat just about anything. They really do. And I think aquatic roots and like that would be a prime thing. Maybe I told you there a couple years ago, some friends gave us a bushel of iris roots one year, many years ago. And I used the best ones, around our yard, but the pile that was left laid under our 80-foot pine trees. And according to our well driller, we sat on 80 or 30 foot of sand here. So it's extreme shade, very little moisture, although except for the pine needles. And today that pile of iris has grown to 6-7 feet in diameter.
Wow.
And if the irises, they're very closely related to cattails, water lilies. There's a whole bunch of different water plants that grow in the water. Why wouldn't these plants just produce a tremendous root system that Bigfoot could eat?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's fairly good protein, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Irises, don't they have like a bulb?
Oh yeah, it's a huge bulb. Yeah, it's yeah. You'll get a bulb that's 6-8 inches. Just for one plant, it's
Yeah. Do
6-8
they
inches.
spread? They spread too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you said like 80% you figure is aquatic, or these weren't your figures.
That's what I read. Is that
Right.
80% of the BM was aquatic plants, which makes you think they got to be from the swamp, or that's where they spend a
Right.
lot of their time.
But apparently they're meat and potatoes.
Oh yeah, they eat everything. They eat anything. Small animals. There was a case out in Oregon where a guy was in the mountains and he come over this ridge, and here was 3 Bigfoot picking rocks out of a scree field. That's all rocks the side of the mountain. They were picking these huge rocks that, some of them were probably 200 pounds, setting them aside, and they were looking for hibernated pikas, which are an animal very similar. They're sort of between a ground squirrel and a rabbit. I think they're bigger than our ground squirrels, but they were eating them whole. Chomp, chomp, chomp. No taking the skin off or anything, but they were. That was like candy. Yep, that was like candy to them. In fact, I got a case up. I got a case up here that the guy, he's got a house with a attached lean-to woodshed, and twice he's had the wood all thrown out in the yard when he wasn't there. The wood was not taken, and I think the Bigfoot was in there
Looking for
chipmunks,
Mhm.
ground squirrels. Yep, hibernating chipmunks. Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to if you're going to back your pickup, you take the wood, right? This wasn't taken; it was just thrown out of the way, and somebody
looking
went
for something.
looking for something to eat. Yep,
Mhm.
and he's had a number of howls and screams and trees broken by his house there. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Roadkill. We talked about that. We're probably eating roadkill.
sure.
Hopefully not too many women and children.
Hopefully not. I don't think we have a big occurrence, but I think it can happen.
Yeah.
The American Indians said they were cannibals. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit scary. I'm not ready to track some 2 foot. That's a small one, isn't it? 2 foot print.
well, no, I think the average male footprint is about 18 inches,
Okay.
and that's probably an 800-pound animal.
Right.
If you got one 22, 23 inches, you got a probably
there you
over
go.
1,000. You probably got over 1,000-pound animal would be my guess.
Oh yeah.
hmm
It gives
And-
a little bit of a visual.
Yeah,
Right.
very big.
I've been posting some prints that came online.
Yeah.
One's in the snow, and they
Yeah.
show the toes real plainly.
Real clear.
Yeah.
that's
One of my
neat.
friends is like, "Give them a pair of shoes." I'm wondering the same thing. I mean, them toes were just so you could see the toes real plain.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So these are
Yeah.
the toes. This would be my
Yeah.
finger compared to the big toe.
That's
Sure.
what it looked like too in the snow.
Yep. I read one time those people, that writer seemed to think that they have pads on their feet similar to what dogs would have. They might have 1.5 inches of pad on their feet, which is insulating and probably has very, very few nerve endings.
I
So
bet.
they can step on a sharp rock and not even notice it,
Right. And
So-
their foot is hinged in the middle.
Yeah, got a mid-tarsal break. Yep.
So
And I think
that's
that's why they walk so smoothly, timing time and again, people report they walk like they were ice skating or riding a bike, very smooth. We have quite a jiggle to our walk. We go up and down because of our arch and our
I'll say
foot.
some people more than others.
Yeah, some more than others, right?
Yeah, I love this. Really informative. Let's talk about evidence, like the most compelling, the whole list of evidence that's out there for Bigfoot.
Okay. Certainly, if you listen to Dr. Meldrum, footprints is a big one for him. He's got over 300 footprint casts, and he's constantly on the Bigfoot shows, showing his footprint casts. I find Michigan, I think we found maybe at 8 or 10 or something like that here. I think the thing we have here, we have so much rain. People don't realize it, but you take in the summertime when you'd most likely find a footprint, we have almost every week we'll have an inch of rain, or some heavy rains, and it really wipes out the footprint, track. And you take a lot of these 2 tracks in the woods, when you got 50 trucks go through, that ground is so hard you can't hardly dent it. The tracks I've seen have been either in between the tracks or in a soft area, and but we have so much material on the ground, it's very difficult to find. I've never found one myself, but I've been to where people have found them.
Oh yeah,
And that's
Yeah.
one of the evidences. Structures, I feel, is good evidence because it's something that it's very unlikely people have enough ambition to do. Vocalizations, people hear this stuff like Ron recorded.
yeah. Hand castings is another
Yep.
one.
Castings,
Handprint.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Body impressions is one that's on this list.
Yeah, they got the body impression out there in Oregon that one time. I think it's pretty rare. They had been, they put some fruit out in the middle, sort of a muddy area, and they think one come in and laid down, but that's almost once in a kind type of thing, to happen. I think.
I bet. Yeah. And then scat, we mentioned that. I don't want to be the person that has to be determined what their diet is. That's
or have to bag the evidence.
Oh, bag the evidence, yeah. Actually, when my sons and my brother was up there by Marquette, we found some big scat, and I put it in a bag, but my wife wasn't real happy. I had it in the refrigerator.
I know.
But I concluded it probably was bear because there was a lot of berries in it.
Oh,
And it wasn't big enough. You take particularly a full-size male Bigfoot, he'll leave a pile as big as what a 1,000-pound horse would leave.
oh yeah, good point.
And they leave a lot. They leave a lot.
Probably burn that.
Huh?
You probably burn it on your fire like they do with the elephant.
Could, yeah. It dries
Right.
out, sure.
So you mentioned beds or structures. Smell is on my list for evidence.
Right.
You might
I've
smell them before you see them.
I've never experienced it. I think you'd have to be downwind to smell them. And I think you would also have to be near one that hasn't been in the water. If they're really aquatic and if they have any sense of cleanliness and they go into the rivers, they could be as clean as you and I would be without the deodorant. But if you're taking a Bigfoot that has recently killed a deer on a hot summer day, and he doesn't eat it all in one sitting, and he hasn't jumped in the lake lately, you're going to have exactly what they say they smell like. A lot of times they say it's between a dead body and a bad outhouse, and that's exactly what they'd smell like.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you got them, if they've been in the river looking for fish or crayfish, they may be very clean. But I think you'd have to be downwind of them. You wouldn't smell them. If you could see them, but if they're upwind of you,
Yeah, skunk ape.
Not gonna smell 'em.
names. There's so many different names.
yeah,
For Bigfoot and Sasquatch. There's the Ohio grassman, Kentucky has Kentucky Bearilla. I'm not exactly sure if that's a dogman or a Bigfoot. The Ojibwa Indians called it the wild man or stinky beast, and the Chinese call it wild man. That's what I called my buddy, wild man. You know, but in the Himalayas, now they've got a different name. Is it something different in the Himalayas, the Yeti? Is that the same thing?
I think it's basically the same thing. The publicity is the ones found on the mountains in the snow. In fact, the prints that you see of that, they had two big toes. You know, not just one big toe, but two. And but I think, you know, the Himalayas is the biggest mountain range in the world. It's got just a humongous climate changing. I think they're really in the swamps and in the woods, you know, more. I mean, what's to eat up there on the mountainside in the snow, you know? I'm probably small animals, but I think mostly they're in the swamps and like that.
That's what people want to know, though. You know, everybody, the areas have special names for them, but they want to know, is it the same thing?
Yeah. Well, I think they can vary just like humans. You know, we got pygmies, we got some of the African tribes are very tall. So, you know, and of course we got different colors, and you know, so I think they can have a variety. So
I think my brother is Sasquatch because he's hairy enough.
Yeah.
He's shorter, but he's awful hairy. He could be part Sasquatch. And with the COVID, I started turning into a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I'm getting awful hairy.
My father-in-law had a lot of hair. He had hair all over his body, but not to quite the extent of a Bigfoot. But.
Talking about, and you mentioned a little bit already, the color. You know, is it vary, and then is it difference between male, female, young, old?
I guess I don't think they really know, but I think the older ones can turn white.
Oh,
there was one seen up here by Mayo. These people it was after a forest fire there, so you wonder if they'd been in the ash, but they said it was white. But there's been other reports of them being white. So
would that be like gray hair for us then?
Could be.
Like an older
one, yeah.
Developing gray hair.
But a lot of times they're reported to be reddish, a reddish color. Yeah. Yeah, the one of the more recent reports we had was just north of St. Helen here in deer season. I had two reports during deer season this last fall. One, a pretty big one, ran across the road just north of St. Helen, which is near West Branch, between us and Houghton Lake. And he said it had a lot of hair, and I think he said that was dark and reddish, had a reddish tinge to him. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, my hair used to be quite dark.
Darker than it is now.
Oh, yeah.
I know the feeling.
Okay. Well, I could see that happening, or a silverback ape, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, they change as they get older.
Grayer.
Sure.
Seems to be working with me that way. You guys got any more specific questions?
Yeah, actually, how did the naming of the sounds come about? Like the Sahara sound, I believe, originated because of the Sahara Mountains.
Yes.
So can you explain what the other, I forget what it was now, but there was the Sahara.
Samurai chatter.
I have no idea what that means.
Well, I think it's taken from the words of what you call the Japanese during the World War II. The samurai had a Oriental lilt to their voice.
Okay.
And so I think that's where it comes from, where the Sierra sounds. Ron Moorhead and his friend and family, actually brother or two, went up in there, and that was in the high Sierras, so that would be called the Sierra Sounds.
So what's the difference between the two?
Oh, the Sierra Sounds is I would say that means the wide range between howls and screams
Okay.
and including samurai chatter. But the samurai chatter itself is more of the talk. I think that's where they're
Okay. So
talking.
that's more of a communicative type thing.
Right.
Where
Right.
the other one is maybe like, this is my territory. I'm
Could be.
howling. It's
Could be.
more of a like, keep away, a
Could be.
warning per se.
Right. Right.
Okay. That makes
think-
more sense now.
Yep. They also whistle. I think the thing that's underrated is they whistle more than people realize. They have a very well, they have a big chest. When you think about a male Bigfoot, they're basically 4 times bigger than an average 200-pound man.
Yeah.
They're 800 pounds.
So the
And-
lung capacity.
Oh my goodness. We have about 2 liters of air capacity in our lungs. They would have 8 liters of air.
Right.
A lot of times the chest itself is seen to be 4 feet, 4 feet wide and very deep.
Like,
Yeah. And yes, and very deep. So, the vocal capacity of a Bigfoot, in fact, they think that they have what they call infrasound.
yeah, I don't-
Much like lions, elephants, whales, they have such a large vocal tract, they can actually make sounds below what we can hear.
Really?
Yeah, and it can. And if you're, they call it being zapped, and if they zap somebody, you can fall right down. It can make you physically ill. They wonder if they use that to capture animals sometimes. They disorient them, and
So they can make a sound almost silent to
yeah,
human,
we wouldn't hear it, but it would upset us. Yeah.
and to make us drop like a log.
Well, you can really make us feel bad. Yeah. I've got a friend. He's one of the Bigfooters from Ernie Fargo. Actually, he lives near Ann Arbor, but he's got property. His family's got property up by Atlanta. He claims he was out one time, and his friend got hit with a zap and just knocked him right to the ground. So, and that can
that's
happen.
pretty incredible.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize it, but that's actually, you hear these stories where the Cubans interfered with some of our ambassadors in our, like that. I don't know if you've seen stories about that. I think the Russians and the Cubans, and we probably have the same capability of using infrasound such that it can upset, people's apple cart, you might say, or psyche. Yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's done like in one of the embassies. I know there were reports that our military did it in the Gulf War.
Oh, did they?
Against the Iraqis, I've heard stories of that happening too.
Well, it wasn't too long ago. The Cubans did that with one of our embassies, and there was a bunch of our ambassadors that were sick from it. So I think it's the same kind of thing.
The doctors use sound to melt my nerves in my back.
Really?
No way.
Oh yeah, so sound can be very powerful if you hit the right frequency.
Well, is that similar to microwave in that case? Is that a microwave like you cook your food with?
Yeah, well, they didn't stick me in a microwave, but
I hope not.
I think, this, you warm your food up with a microwave, how's that happening?
Right.
Yeah.
You get the right frequency.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing too, that they would have that ability. That would keep anybody from getting too close to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe that accounts for the reasons why there's not a whole lot of sightings.
Could
Because if they zap you, you're never going to be able to get close to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could.
I figure too, if you're getting disoriented like that, you probably, like that might make you question too, kind of what you experienced, because you might be thinking, maybe I'm dehydrated or,
right.
something.
Or
something
food
else
poisoning or something.
I think it's worse. I think it can be worse than that. They can be psychologically messed up from it, actually.
Wow.
If they do it very severely. Yeah.
They haven't even had any wine coolers yet.
Right. Make them physically throwing up and stuff like that. Actually, they can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon may be going on Bigfoot hunt. I don't know. So I'm wondering what should he be taking in his Bigfoot kit?
Hmm.
Uh,
Pepper spray.
Pepper spray wouldn't hurt.
That's what I would take.
I was just talking to my brother today, for home defense, actually bee spray that sprays, for wasp. That's actually I've read that before. That's really a pretty good defense because
Okay.
if you spray that from 10, 15 feet away in somebody's eyes, the only way you have to wash your eyes with water to get that out of your eyes.
Yeah.
So that would be a good defense in itself.
Brandon got up there in the UP with Rich Meyer, and they were having like seeing lights out in the woods. And
Like kind of like you were talking about with the orbs, like we had the ghost
Yeah.
groups and the Bigfoot groups, and we're seeing, like light orbs, which like a lot of it, like Todd Clements from Mackinac Island, like a lot of people identify them as fairy lights. And that's what we were seeing a bunch of that when we were up there. But it's kind of stuff with the paranormal. I kind of wonder if you have, because a lot of times because you have two different groups that investigate two different things, and we're going up there for Bigfoot, and all of a sudden we're seeing something else. So I think it's almost kind of, you start pulling at one rope, now you're pulling at another thread, and then something, you get a third category all of a sudden pop up.
Certainly, there's a lot of crossover. A lot of your Bigfooters think there's a connection, and sometimes even to UFOs. So
Yeah.
Right.
I've had a couple of reports where a UFO was present at the time.
Oh, did you? In
Yeah.
West Branch area?
Actually, Rose City. This guy years ago, he was traveling from Clear Lake, which is to the west from Rose City, and he saw a hairy man stand along the road. And as he got near, he looked, and there was a classical UFO sitting there. And as he looked, the UFO, just took off, just bam, gone right now. And then the Bigfoot went into the woods.
Okay. We're going to
So it was
bring
a
that up again in a
combination.
couple
But
minutes.
that's about the only report that I've ever had like that, But
We actually need to move into the show, the shout outs. And then our last guest was from Arkansas, Tyra Clark from Arkansas.
Yep.
Arkansas X-Files. And they do a little bit of different things. They have the Bigfoot,
Oh yeah.
the aliens, and then
Aliens,
the
yeah.
cemetery.
interesting
Yeah.
stuff.
They do different things. And I told her, because their border is the Mississippi River.
Sure.
And I told them what you said, Phil, that maybe those Sasquatch are like in that river down in caves underneath the water.
Sure.
I've been
Yeah,
guessing that.
They love fish, and you take a big river, they're going to be undercuts, in the bends there. So I keep asking people if anybody got some wetsuits, we go looking for them, but I haven't gotten any takers yet. So
Hmm.
you might want to carry a pretty good caliber gun on your hip, if you're
Yeah,
doing
of
that. But
I'm glad you brought that up. The hunting season that they came up with. I posted that too. What is that? Oklahoma? Where is that?
Yeah, Oklahoma, I think. Yeah.
They got a bill. They want to have a hunting season for Bigfoot. And I got really upset about it because I've been saying we need bills to protect these things.
Right.
These things that there aren't very many of. We need to protect aliens and Bigfoot and Dogman and Mothman. Instead, this guy's got a bill to hunt them. But I found out after I read into it more, it's a $25,000 reward to trap Bigfoot, not to kill him. It's not a license to kill.
Oh, I thought it was more like $2 million.
Oh,
From
Well-
what I think it's over $2 million now that they're offering to.
it may be. The bill calls for $25K prize. It was Justin Humphrey from Oklahoma.
Oh, but
A new bill. It was upsetting. I posted it in my group.
mm-hmm.
Well,
Well,
a lot of that too. It's not really like a belief in Bigfoot thing. Like a lot of them, they do it because they know it's become a big, like ghost hunting is, where it's all of a sudden become very popular. So you pass that bill to try to make it to get the tourist money in there, to get people
Yeah.
to go in there looking for Bigfoot for that purpose. Like that's the
Yeah.
reason why they're doing it.
Yeah, they're trying to raise
about the
money.
money.
But I think
Yeah.
there's other ways of doing it.
Yeah.
So a shout out to Tyra, Arkansas X-Files, Todd Clements, Mackinac Island Authority. We had him on our other show, and I did an article for WKTV Newsfeed on Todd Clements of Mackinac Island.
Now, what is
Shout
he?
out.
Is
You know
it-
Todd?
No, I don't. Is that Bigfoot that he studying?
No, it's ghost and well, it's
Oh, oh.
fairies and all the different
Oh.
things that are on the island. No Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then Linda Pomeranke, a shout out to her because we're going to have her on, along with Rich Meyer and Jim are going to be on later on in the fall.
Mhm.
So upcoming, we want to mention what you got going again. The
Yeah.
date.
Yeah, it's
Bigfoot
May
Discovery Day.
15th. May 15th. That's if you see the flyer, and we've been posting it in a lot of Facebook, and I'll be putting more out. But you can get the tickets. They're $25 a person, and since it's in a pavilion outdoors, we'll have all the equipment and the show inside. But people might want to bring along a lawn chair. There's probably 40 or 50 picnic tables there, but which people could use, but they could, probably be more comfortable set on a picnic table or chairs, lawn chairs, because it's an all-day event, and be a lot more comfortable in a
Sounds
lawn
like
chair.
fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping for
friends are
good
gonna be
weather because we're going to be outside, so I hope we have good weather.
Sheetan Noir, our friend, is going to be one of the speakers.
Mhm.
Got some really good speakers, some authors. Yeah, that's going to be a good time. Now, upcoming for us, we have Rebecca Smuck coming from Motor City Medium into the month. And then April, that's when we have Linda Pomeranke is in April. But there's some other conventions, Sasquatch conventions. Longview, Washington, July 30th, Sasquatch Fest. Michigan Bigfoot Conference. And Sheetan's going to be at that one in Ann Arbor. That's July 17th.
That's the one. Yeah.
Right, you mentioned that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so like I said, there's a couple more. So that's good. This stuff can happen this year, hopefully. I get my second dose of the vaccine in a couple days. So I'm glad that this is going to move on, get out of this thing. Final thought, and we hit on it a little bit already. Want everybody to weigh in on this. What type of being do you think Bigfoot is? The origin, is there a connection between these UFO sightings? So is it part alien? Maybe they got left behind. That's what I put on Facebook. I know when I was late for the ship to Wisconsin, they didn't wait for me. If you're late, they don't wait. So I don't know if they came down here and some Sasquatch were out looking around. They didn't make it the ship back or what? What do you guys think? What's the origin? Is it just biological? Brandon, you want to start with this?
It's a very complex one. I think there are paranormal hotspots, and I think there may be some things maybe interdimensional, like Bigfoot and aliens. They may be areas where they can kind of cross back and forth, kind of like a portal type of area. And I think there are, because there's like a lot of areas where you have ghost reports, Bigfoot, and everything else. So I think there's definitely areas that are weirder than others, so to speak. Okay. And I think some of the Bigfoot stuff could be, because we have human ghost experience, and some of the Bigfoot stuff could be, as well. I think it's a living animal, but I think some of it may very well be like you're seeing the ghost or the recording of it like we do with people as well.
Very political answer.
Yeah.
That's Brandon for you.
Yeah. Kim,
like I said, I gotta weigh every possibility. I don't try to get bogged down in this is the only way. I think I gotta keep all the avenues open.
I'm with you, I think. Kim, what do you?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to take the opposite approach. I actually do not think there have a paranormal connection whatsoever. I think probably this creature or species has been on this planet for potentially since prehistoric times and have maybe evolved over time. Maybe it was a different animal way back when, and then it kind of evolved into this mammoth 8-foot tall creature that was some maybe other species at one point in time or another. Maybe it came from a bear. I don't know. You know, maybe it was some sort of prehistoric human that evolved into this creature. I guess I'm kind of taking that approach.
Okay. Well, Phil, you're our Bigfoot guy.
Well, I agree with you guys. You know, it's really hard to tell. The DNA testing that Melba Ketchum did would indicate they're very, very close to human. And that was probably, could have been a human hybrid going back 15, 20,000 years.
Mhm.
And certainly the nature of the animal with the big long arms, the big chest muscles, often going on all fours, it could be they are sort of a cross between human and ape, because apes
yeah.
pretty much are quadrupeds, whereas we're mostly 100% bipeds. But I think these are do both a lot. So
Interesting.
yeah, you mix in the UFO, you know, it seems like there's certainly evidence about all of it, you know, and of course I and this other couple of guys saw an orb, you know, so what's that, you know? There's just no way that was swamp gas, you know, so it's anybody.
I know there are reports. The same time they're seeing Bigfoot, they're seeing UFOs.
Yeah.
But I think they're biological, and I don't think they're supernatural, although they have maybe some qualities that we don't understand yet with this sound. But I think they're a biological creature, maybe the missing link.
Yeah, maybe.
Definitely related to humans. But I hope that this is going to clear up in the near future, that there's going to be enough evidence come forward that we're going to clear this up. So we might have to check back with you, Phil.
I'm inclined to think, you know, there's plenty of evidence already that these beings exist. Actually, I've read several times that there's more evidence right now of the existence of Bigfoot than what it would take to convict a person to be put in prison for life. You know, when you look at the footprints, the hair, the vocalizations, the sightings, when you put that all together, and that's what I have documented, is all this different stuff, because I think it all counts. The structures, you know, in a court of law, that would be, you know, complete. You know, no question. You don't need a body, really.
Right.
Yeah, but the problem is most people won't take the time to study it.
Yeah. Well, the definition of cryptozoology is the unsubstantiated, but there's a lot of people that are substantiating this. There's a lot of evidence, like you said.
Oh my goodness, you read story after story after story, you know, where people have had encounters of one sort or another. It's just amazing.
Yep. So inspirational thought, then the show's over. We're actually over an hour. And this inspirational thought comes from George Bernard Shaw, same name. So are you Irish?
I don't think so.
So you might not be related to George.
I don't have red hair. Of course, I don't have a whole lot of hair, period. But
yeah,
it used to be blonde, but you can't tell now.
Well, George Shaw was a playwright and political activist. And he writes, "We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing."
Yeah.
So Phil, I guess you and I are going to be young forever.
Yep.
As long as you keep playing.
Right. Yep. I tell people, you know, I just love the hobby. You know, it's a great hobby. The trouble is people take it too serious. I think sometimes, you know, particularly the naysayers. You know, they think you're crazy. You know, and you know.
Well, we try to keep it on the light side here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Wayne Thomas from Grand Rapids, Phil Shaw from West Branch, Kim Colleen from Holland, Brandon Jose from Byron Center, Michigan. Great Zoom show. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Fun time. Okay.
Family-owned Palermo Pizza underwrites this episode of Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters Paranormal Podcast, located at 901 Gazan Parkway, Southwest Wyoming, and available at 616-531-8300.
The opinions expressed in the preceding program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.